What's going on, pro wrestling fans? Welcome back to another episode of Squared Circle Speak. And today we're doing something a little different than we normally do. A little special thing. We're going to be talking WWE Hall of Fame. For those who don't know, I am Ryan. With me, as always, is my co host, Nathan. And you might be asking, why are we doing Hall of Fame in the middle of the summer? Well, it's been a topic in the news because of Psycho Sid put out a tweet saying that now that Vince McMahon is gone, maybe I'll finally get put into the Hall of Fame. I guess there's beef between McMahon and Sid. At first, I was originally going to I had the thought of doing like a top 10 most deserved Hall of Famers or whatever, but I kind of felt like our list would be very similar because there's not that many people that aren't in that are like the biggest snubs. So we changed it
Right.
up. We're gonna be talking current wrestlers, maybe current wrestlers who were in WWE or some that may have left WWE, who deserve to be in or who we think would be in when the time comes. Obviously, there's a bunch of names that are guaranteed Hall of Famers. Punk, Roman, Miz, Charlotte, Becky, Asuka, like those are guaranteed Hall of Famers. So we're not going to be going with them. We're going to be throwing some names out there that may be fringe Hall of Famers that we may not know for sure if they're going to get in. So
All right.
the first name I have for you, Nathan, is Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm,
Now, he hasn't accomplished a whole lot on the main roster.
right.
Now, could he get put in due to his time in Japan? Yeah. But I started off with Shinsuke because this is a tough one because in 20 years, are we gonna remember Shinsuke? We gonna like is he gonna be a name people talk about 20 years from now? I don't know.
I don't know. I think the only way Shinsuke gets in is if they start if you know how whenever sometimes they'll do like ECW, like they'll have like three or four people from like WCW or ECW that go in at the same time.
Yeah.
What if they did, you know, three or four NXT champions at the same time? We're talking like maybe him and maybe Sami Zayn and a couple of Kevin Owens, like they do all
Yeah.
of them at the same time. I could see him getting in that way, possible.
Well, that kind of brings me to my next point, which I was gonna say, like, are we eventually gonna get to a point where we get NXT specific Hall of Famers?
All of them.
Because like the one thing I can think of is Undisputed Era.
Yeah,
Could Undisputed Era make it into the Hall of Fame just based on what they did in NXT? Because they did everything they could do. They held every single championship in in NXT. I mean, if you're gonna look for an NXT specific Hall of Fame group, I mean that would be the one to do. But I don't know if we'll get to that. I don't know if we'll ever have. I mean, Triple H in charge now. NXT Black and original NXT was his baby, so I could really see him doing it, putting Undisputed Era in. But it'd be very weird because like not a lot of people like it wasn't a lot of people watched NXT.
right.
And so like even in 10 years in like 2034, are people gonna remember Undisputed Era in NXT?
I don't
Was
know.
it Hall of Fame worthy? I mean, there's some people in the Hall of Fame that, you know, let's be honest, probably a lot of people probably don't remember, but it's interesting with the NXT because I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where we're putting in just straight NXT. I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of people in NXT who never got called up that are like Hall of Fame worthy, but Undisputed Era is the one group that I can think of that are like could be very
Yeah.
well could be Hall of Famers.
All right.
It would
I
be
think
very interesting if they ended up putting them in because that would be crazy.
it would also take them, getting out of AEW at some point, which is going to
Well,
happen 5 more years probably.
yeah. I mean, well, that's what I said. 10 years from now, when they're all retired, old.
Yeah. True.
Adam Cole is withered to a 90-pound old man. Let's go to the female side. There's obviously, like I said, Becky and Asuka and Charlotte are probably locks for the Hall of Fame. But
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
but what about Bailey?
Um, you know,
Multi-time WWE champion, women's champion, multi-time tag team champion, Money in the Bank winner,
I
NXT
mean,
champion. Like
she's done it all. She won the Royal Rumble.
the resume's there, so I could see her getting in.
I mean, I feel like they'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna put Becky and Charlotte in, uh, it would make sense, I guess, right?
Yeah, Bailey, Sasha, maybe. I don't know.
Sasha, see, I was gonna mention Sasha because I think
What
she.
Paige?
Ooh, Paige. Ah, I mean, youngest women's champion ever, or youngest.
Well, not only that, but her and Emma set the stage for
Yeah,
what the women's division became.
yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have. The women's revolution would have never happened without Paige doing what she did in NXT.
Right.
So, yeah, but she did say some. This is all subjective. Like the Hall of Fame is not a real Hall of Fame. Like it's all subjective. Triple H doesn't seem to hold a grudge as much as Vince did, and so a
Right.
lot of people who have left that I feel like under the old administration would have never gotten in. But
Right.
now with Triple H in charge, yeah, Paige obviously, in my opinion, should be a Hall of Famer.
All
Just
right.
based on what she did for the company, like just like AJ Lee should be in.
Yeah.
Those two are like the two that like held down the Divas division and tried to bring it up with their matches. So, let's see who else could we talk about that's on the main roster that would be like fringe Hall of Famers. Let's see. I mean, we could go crazy with it, but like LA Knight,
No.
no. What about Logan Paul?
Mm-mm.
Now he's really young in his career. We don't know how long he's going to wrestle.
Celebrity wing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's right. Like
Yeah.
just based on the matches he's had and what he's done, and
Yeah. Celebrity wing, definitely.
yeah, as a wrestler,
I don't think
if he
so.
keeps going the way he's going and keeps having the good matches he's having, like that'd be
What
crazy.
about Pat McAfee? You think
Again,
he eventually gets in whenever he is gone?
again, I guess if you look at it from a
Celebrity
celebrity,
announcer.
yeah, and everything he's done for WWE, bringing it mainstream again, having it like on
Yeah.
his show, and basically is the reason that they signed that big deal with Indianapolis. Like, I can see Pat McAfee. Like same as like Michael Cole, obviously will be in when
Yeah.
he's done. Like again, you look at the names like Sheamus, pretty much a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Randy Orton, guaranteed Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Let's see. What about a guy who left not that long ago? What about Dolph Ziggler? One of those guys that I just
I
don't.
mean, so here's the thing. So let's think about this Hall of Fame real quick. So it took a while, but you remember when the Hall of Fame was going, some of the guys after a while, some of the guys that were getting in, you know, weren't the best of the best. They had a character or something that was well known,
Yeah,
and they got in off of that, and
like
like the
Hillbilly
Godfather.
Jim,
Yeah, like the
like
Godfather, Hillbilly Jim. So
Coco Beware.
eventually we're going to get to that point with all these newer wrestlers.
Yeah,
And so I could see Dolph Ziggler being in as one of the, like, not the main person getting in, not the main event person, but one of the others in that group. I could see that.
I mean, he definitely has the resume.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, like, will he be memorable 10, 15, 20, 15, 20 years from now? Will people remember Dolph
Yeah.
Ziggler? Like, because
True.
yeah, he's accomplished a whole lot. He did everything he could do. I mean, other than
All right.
winning the WWE
I
title.
I need you to do some research real quick, Ryan,
Okay.
as fast as you can.
Okay.
When did Godfather get in, and when was his last match?
Okay. Godfather was in to the Hall of Fame in 2016.
Okay,
And then his last match, let's see.
2003,
Oh,
2004.
let's see when his last match was in WWE. His last match in WWE was 2002.
Okay,
So 14 years after.
14 years. Okay, so if Dolph Ziggler goes into the Hall of Fame since he has left WWE, right?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't come back, that he left what last year?
Yeah. Was it
This
this
year,
year?
this year,
It was
this
this year.
year.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Dolph Ziggler's in 2020 or 2038.
That seems like that just seems weird. Like that just seems like way too far away. Like what about like Finn Balor? First ever undisputed champion, but
I,
again,
I maybe if like I said, if they do that NXT champion group,
like he could get
Sam,
in for
Sami
his
Zayn, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Shinsuke.
yeah, I mean he could get in for his probably Japanese stuff too.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean he started the Bullet Club for crying out loud.
yeah, I think Finn should be. I think Finn's like a lock. I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
because I mean, yeah, because they would mention that. I mean, one of the biggest, especially if Triple H keeps doing these partnerships,
Yeah,
he'll definitely get in off of that because yeah, like he started one of the most popular groups in Japanese history,
yeah, that's true. I mean,
and if he
see,
gets in, maybe they do a Bullet Club. Maybe he gets in with how crazy would that be?
they induct the Bullet Club into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I mean, they inducted the Four Horsemen, and they were never in WWE.
I'm just saying.
So and like Jushin
Wouldn't that
Thunder
be nuts?
Liger's in. So like the Hall of Fame has people in it that are not
Yeah,
WWE guys, and we're
wouldn't
gonna
that be?
get like we're gonna get to a point 20 years from now, 15 years from now, where people are not gonna, the Bullet Club will hopefully be done by then.
Yeah, no shit. Holy
If it's
cow.
still going around 15 years from now, well then, Jesus Christ,
That's
uh,
crazy to think about. All right. Definitely. Yeah. So that could be interesting. What else you got for me?
what about like let's do some tag teams like DIY. Like again, you go based on NXT. Yeah, they're NXT Hall of Famers, especially Johnny Gargano. But overall, as Hall of Famers for WWE,
I think we got a ways to go to see.
yeah, I mean they're still going, but still, like as of right now, I would say no. Obviously, things could change, but I would say no right now.
Right.
I mean, what about one pretty big name, but hasn't really done a whole lot? What about Braun Strowman?
I don't see it. Well,
You mentioned, Godfather character. Like Braun Strowman's a guy that I think could remain pretty memorable. Like
yeah.
you mentioned, Godfather and Hillbilly Jim. Like he could be like Hillbilly Jim. Like, you
He
know,
could. He could. That's for sure. Yeah.
there's
I
just
mean, he
so
could. Well, do you think maybe he gets in with the Wyatt family though?
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, yeah, he could get in just because they induct the whole Wyatt family together. And that way they also put in Harper too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you got groups like Roman Reigns has the potential to be a 3-time Hall of Famer. Like he could go in as himself. He could go in with the Shield and go in with the Bloodline. Like
Right.
that would just be ridiculous. But it could very well happen. Like, let's see. What about like? There's a lot of people who I like are memorable now, but like I don't know if I remember like 20 years from now. You know what I mean? Like I think like Belair is obviously a Hall of Famer, right?
I think that Bianca Belair will probably eventually be a Hall of Famer, just from her title reign that was so long. Uh, her title reign that was so long. Her her and Sasha, the first African American female main event at WrestleMania and all that.
Yeah.
I think with all that resume, I think eventually she gets in. Plus, I
Yeah.
think she's going to be like the female John Cena with 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 the Make a Wish and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um,
I think she gets in.
yeah, I think that's definitely like gonna happen. Like Kofi Kingston, I'm looking at the roster. Like Kofi Kingston's definitely in.
Oh,
The
I
New
mean, as
Day as
long
a
as
the New Day
like
as a
think about
group will be in.
that's how he'll get in. They'll induct the whole new day.
He could be. You don't think Kofi could get in on his own though?
I think he could, but I don't think he will.
You don't think he will? You think he'll just be a one,
Yeah.
just as a group? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's the new. Like, I don't think anyone would complain. You know, like the New Day's obviously getting in. They had the longest tag team reign ever before the Usos,
Well, look how many times they won the belts and
and they've been a group. They're the only group that survived this long.
yeah, they never get split up.
What about someone kind of controversial? What about Liv Morgan, Nathan?
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, she's like over now, but like I don't like you can't put everybody in, right? Like not you got to have a breaking point at some point. You got to have like a cutoff, and I think Liv's underneath that line. I would agree because
As of right now.
like I just don't see like 20 years from now people are like talking about Liv Morgan.
Right.
like Hall of Fame, even though it is a fake Hall of
You
Fame.
never know, Ryan. So here's the thing. Here's what we got to think about also. We got to think about how we thought when we were teenagers.
True.
Okay? Because when we were teenagers, some of the people that we thought should be in the Hall of Fame right now, like Molly Holly,
Yeah.
did she get in?
She's
I,
in, right?
I feel like she is. Now, when you think about Molly Holly, what was so memorable about Molly Holly?
That's true. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, she's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I mean, really, Molly Holly never really crossed my mind until
Yeah.
they like announced she was like back, like doing the Hall of Fame, and
So
I was
I
like, oh,
mean, so I mean, when you have somebody like that, then maybe Liv Morgan does get in because she's kind of like on the same level that Molly Holly was. I feel I even she's a little bigger than Molly Holly because Molly Holly never won the belt, did she?
she won it once.
Oh, okay.
She did win it one time. No, yeah, she won twice actually, which I don't
Okay.
remember her winning it
So
twice.
so her and Liv are kind of on the same level.
Yeah, true.
So I mean, yeah, there were less women back then,
Yeah,
but
and I think that's what's gonna cloud, especially the women of today,
mhm.
because back then, yeah,
It's
you
so
had
many.
you had Lita, Trish, Molly, Victoria. Like they were the ones everyone remembers because they were the only ones that wrestled. Now you've
Yeah.
got so many women that to stand out and become a Hall of Famer from this generation, it's gonna be tough. Because there's gonna be so many women 20 years from now that we look back on and be like, man, like they had such a stacked roster in the 2020s of women. So like Liv, I would say no right now. I mean, obviously it could change, but I don't think Liv would get in. Like Rhea's in for sure, I would say. Like unless something drastic happens. Like I would say Rhea's in. What about like Chad Gable?
I don't. No,
I
not
know,
yet. He
right?
hasn't done enough at
He
all.
ain't done anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Chad Gable, no.
Yeah. And that sucks because Chad Gable's good, but it's like I said, not everybody can get in. You got to
Yeah.
have a cutoff point somewhere.
I mean,
Uh,
if he starts doing a little more work with either if he's gonna go, I think the problem that Chad Gable's had is, so he's very similar to Kurt Angle. Everybody's,
Yeah.
treats him like Kurt Angle, but the thing about Kurt was, so Chad Gable does some comedy stuff, and he's okay at it sometimes. He does some serious stuff, and he's okay at that sometimes. But he doesn't do enough of both to be memorable. Like, he's done a little bit here and there, a little bit of the other here and there, but he's never done both consistently to
Yeah.
where he's not like Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was always like, if he was on TV, he was either going to make you laugh or he was going to be serious and you're going to be like, damn, what a badass. Either one.
Yeah.
Every time. There
Yeah.
was no episodes where he was just like, oh, he come out and you're just like, oh,
He was
okay.
just there. Like, yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like Chad Gable's had too many of those.
Yeah. I mean, is it just like, and the thing is, like, maybe we're older now. There
Yeah.
could be some teenagers or young kids watching now that
That's what I'm saying,
are
because
going to have
they're looking at these guys like we did at the Attitude Era,
yeah.
where
So
we thought all the characters should be in the Hall of Fame because we remembered them as such.
yeah, like we were like
And
Val Venus should be in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, so these people, so that's what I'm saying. So these, the kids nowadays, when like 15, 20 years from now, they were, if they're like 13 right now, they're going to remember that.
Yeah.
And they're going to think those guys should get in. So it's going to be interesting. I think 13, 14 years from now, it's going to be very interesting to see who goes in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Like even someone like Shayna Baszler should be, you would think, but if you just go based on her main roster run, no, she's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
But if they start including NXT, then she should. Like, that's the thing that's going to be interesting down the ride. Like when we like you said, like 13, 14, 15 years from now, we're looking back at the run of NXT. Are they going to mention, like, is that going to be Hall of Fame worthy stuff? Just what you did in NXT?
I think so. I think they'll mention that stuff when somebody does go in from.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is NXT enough to get in? Like the Undisputed
Mhm.
Era or Shayna Baszler or something like that. Like, is just what they did historically in NXT gonna be warranted enough to get into the Hall of Fame? Which I think it should be. It's an official WWE brand, it's an official, but it is still technically developmental. So it's gonna be interesting down like years from now when we're old men. When we're looking back at this era of wrestling, I think we're gonna realize, we're gonna look back and be like, oh man, like they could have legitimately a whole bunch of Hall of Famers from this era. And I don't think we've seen that since like the 90s. like you couldn't tell me anyone, like there's not very many memorable people from like the 2010s that were just in like the 2010s. Like, all right, we're gonna go with some super young people, Nathan, and I'm just gonna rapid fire at you, and you're gonna say yes or no Hall of Fame. All right. We're just gonna go super young. Dominic Mysterio.
Just from his dad's legacy and the amount of booze and stuff. Yeah.
Tiffany Stratton.
No.
No. Ooh. Ilya Dragunov.
Depends. It depends how they treat him later on. Right now, he's kind of middle of the road. They're like hot and cold with him. Sometimes they look like they're gonna. He's young too. We'll see.
Yeah. Braun Breaker, I would say yes, right? He's on the projection now to be a Hall of Famer, I'd say. And he's got the second generation thing going for him. So I would say Braun Breaker's a yes. Let's do a couple more here. Some young people. What about Roxanne Perez? It's hard to tell. She's still so young. She could still be wrestling 20 years from now.
I think when she comes in main roster, she's gonna have to go back to being a face because she sucks as a heel. I'm just saying. So I feel like maybe as the underdog face again, maybe on the main roster if she does that again and has a long career at that, maybe. But what
Hmm,
she's doing right now, no.
interesting. All right, yeah, this was fun because, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see, and then like we could be looking at like Tank Ledger could go down as a Hall of Famer one day because you never know what could happen years from now. But I think the Hall of Fame is always interesting because it's especially now that we've got a new person in charge. The Hall of Fame, anyone can get in now. I feel like that, like there's so many names that are omitted that are going to get in, but it's always interesting to look at the current thing of current era of wrestling and be like, who out of this era is going to be in the Hall of Fame? Like, and there's a lot. Like I think there's a lot that's going to come out of this era. Like Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, John Cena, obviously all of them. But I think a lot of these mid card, younger talents probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame because we're eventually going to run out of the older. Like you know what I mean? Like we're eventually going to get to a point where this is going to be the generation that they're going to pull
Well,
from. So
I mean, eventually, you think it would already be happening with like the early 2000s and the like the what you call it the uh what is it called before the PG era the
ruthless aggression.
yeah. I mean, because right now we are 20 years from that,
It's true.
and we're not getting the people in that people were going in from 10 to 14 years from the other generation. So it's really weird. They still keep going with all these really old guys. And eventually, a lot of these younger fans have got to be thinking, what the hell, even like people like our age,
Yeah.
they got to be, it's like, where's should Carlito have been in already?
Yeah.
Should 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 Law Resistance have been in because I'm just saying they won the
Well,
belts a lot.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true, and you've got like from that era, you've got there's a lot of names that could be in, but yeah, none of them are in yet. Like Batista's not in yet, which is he was supposed to be in, and then he got cold. I guess the
Yeah, he'll be
COVID
in.
happened, so he'll be in for sure.
Yeah, he'll be in for sure. But some of these other guys, like some of the like not top guys, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like they should be considered by now.
You would think. Yeah, it is weird that like guys like you said, Carlito and like Eve Torres
Yeah,
and like Michelle McCool.
yeah,
Like they haven't been put in yet, and it's or like Hardcore Holly's not in, which is surprising to
yeah,
me.
yeah. He's from the Attitude Era. Yeah, I don't know why he's not in.
Like there's so many people that could be in that they haven't put in yet. Like what about Jack Swagger? Like he could get in.
He could.
I mean, it's weird that we're still going with guys from the '80s when we're like 2024. Like
I
I
know.
think it's probably just because it don't feel like 2000 was that long ago, but it was 20 years ago. It just doesn't. Like maybe it just doesn't feel. I don't know. There's a lot of names that could get in that aren't in yet. So the Hall of Fame is always something that every year it comes around, you're like, ooh, who's gonna get in now? And usually you're disappointed because it's usually names you're like, oh, well. I still don't know why Rick Martel's not in. I'm still I wonder that every year. I mean, come on, let's put him in.
Rick Martel. He should be in, honestly.
Yeah. I don't
Maybe it'll
know.
be maybe him and Sid will both get in this year. What do you think? This
Him,
next.
Sid, and Sable. Let's put them all in.
How was Sable not in?
Well, she sued WWE for a while, so that has something to do with it.
Yeah, but her husband's been back for forever. You think that would have gave
Yeah,
her
you'd
some?
think that would have,
And they brought her back that one time.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of names. It could be interesting to see, especially from this era, that are going
Has
to get in.
China's still not in, is she?
China, well, China, I mean, technically, I guess, because she was a part of DX,
Yeah, but no, I mean she wasn't in by herself.
but she's not in by herself. No, she
Yeah,
was on,
she's
she's
got
on,
to get in. She's got to get in next turn.
She should. Like, she should get her own. Yeah, she should get her
And
own.
I think you think Rhea Ripley inducts her because everybody kind of says that
Yeah,
she's
it
kind of
would
like a
either
new.
it'd either be Rhea or maybe like X-Pac or something.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know about that.
or
I
okay,
mean, that was that. I don't think that's the choice.
well, I was just trying to think of someone who would still be around
I
that would.
know, but judging by how everything went at the end, I don't think that's the choice.
Well, yeah, I know.
But
But
is Luger getting in this next turn?
dude, that's what I've been wondering, man. Look,
He's got to get in because he's going to pass away soon. I'm just saying he's not looking great.
I know he had his, issues with the Miss Elizabeth stuff, but like
He never got convicted.
it wasn't his fault. Like it wasn't like he, you know, did anything. He didn't
Yeah.
help things,
So
but he didn't do anything. Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of big names. So I guess want to say we keep saying, we're eventually going to get there, but like we still have a lot of names that
Well, yeah,
from.
but here's what I say. Here's what I think. This has gone a little long, but
Yeah,
I didn't think that we were going to go this long on Hall of
I
Fame.
really
But
didn't think we would either, but hey, what's good?
here's what I think. I think we're at the point now that yes, there are still some names from back in the era that should be in, right?
Yeah,
So you put them in, but you also start putting in like just one or two of them. Not the whole thing doesn't need to be old legends no more. It
yeah,
needs to be like two of those, and then people from ruthless aggression era. You know, it
yeah.
needs to be. That's what I think should start to happen,
Well, I mean,
and then we'll slowly, you know, get to
yeah.
this era.
Well, if you look
Because
at just like
right
if you
now there's not much advancement.
yeah, well, yeah, because if you look at this year's Hall of Fame class, you had Heyman, Mia Maivia, the U.S. Express, Bull Nakano, and Muhammad Ali.
It was all old people,
Like you didn't like
like
other than
real old people.
like Paul Heyman, yeah, he's still there, but like everyone else was like, yeah, like we didn't get a single person from the Attitude Era or the Ruthless Aggression Era or something. Like, yeah, they need to sprinkle them in, throw some people in from that uh, our generation's gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
we're wrestling nerds, so like we know the old stuff, but people our age who aren't wrestling nerds, like they don't know who the fuck the U.S. Express is. Like
Exactly.
should have thrown in like I don't know. I don't know who would have been a better choice, but you know, yeah, they need to mix it up the eras a little bit and have one person from each era or something.
Right.
Because that would be at least it would make it cool. Because then you would never know for sure who's going to be in. So, all right, well, this went longer than I thought, but this was a cool little discussion. We may have to revisit this when the Hall of Fame comes up next year, and we'll see have our thoughts on who gets put in. All right. I think that's gonna wrap this discussion up. This was a fun little thing that kind of came on a whim that ended up, I think, being pretty cool.
I agree. Um, well, if you like this episode of, well, we can't do this one a lot, but if you like this episode of us talking about the Hall of Fame, uh, like and subscribe so you can hear episodes of other stuff that we talk about, and hit the notification bell so you're always notified when we upload a video of all kinds of content.
Yeah. And tomorrow will be our SummerSlam preview slash prediction show. And then next week we'll have our SummerSlam reactions and also talking about everything that happened in the week of wrestling this week, plus some other special stuff. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. SummerSlam. It's going to be a big show, I think, and it should be pretty fun. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. And then obviously we'll be talking about the show next week after. So see ya, and we'll see ya in the next one.
Later.